Good, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Mental Moments. This evening, we are going to talk all things your village, the village, the African American village. And we have such an awesome guest on our show this evening, and my co-host, Malak Green, will introduce him.
Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mental Moments. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. We are now live right now on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. But right now, just go ahead and tell everybody go to the Natasha Barnes-Owens page on YouTube where we are live. Today, we're here for a treat. You know, what better way to end Black History Month by really talking about how do we create a village? How do we create a community? And this was all sparked from a Facebook post, y'all, where I asked my community, like, how do we define the village? And this brother here, Harrison, has such an amazing thought behind it of how we can literally come together to dismantle some of the things that we focus on in our community. And I think him being very solution focused makes him the best one to really speak to this topic. So I'm going to welcome our guest on so he can tell you guys more about himself, what he do for our community, number one. And we're going to get this conversation started. So Harrison, thank you so much for joining in with us today. And we'll kick this off. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Good evening, audience. Good evening. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you. My name is Harrison. I go by Industrial Dave, and we're here to talk about it. So, a little bit about me. You probably see the hard hat. So, what I do is I advocate for the trades and blue collar workers. And also on my channel, what I do is I advocate for 18 people that are 18 years old, felons, people that don't necessarily want to go to college, but they want to do something, right? So I tell them like, hey, you don't gotta do retail, you ain't gotta go and flip burgers. You know, you could work on the infrastructure and the trades, and you could still make really good money. So I advocate for the blue collar guys that make the society run.
Mm, awesome, awesome. So here's my question to you as we start this tonight. When we asked you, what is your definition of just a village in general? How would you define that?
A village, I would define a village of, I would say your closest people around you, the people that you're around every day. You know, they don't necessarily have to be family, just the main people that you see every day. They don't necessarily have to be in your circle, but if you see them every day, you know, they in your village. That's what I think, you know, it would be. That's how I define it.
Well, how has the village changed since yesteryears to today?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How did the yesteryears, like, how has the village changed? The definition of the village? Because for me, you know, young tender age of 51, the village has changed.
Hmm.
It is severely changed. We're in. Can y'all hear me? I think it's an echo.
We can hear you a little bit. It's going in and out. But I think what she's trying to say is back then the village looked completely different
Hmm.
than what it looked like now. So what changes have you seen as it relates to the village?
So one of the biggest changes that I've seen is a society full of single people is one. So a lot of single people, male and female, obviously, right? Two, just with everything going on with the way that inflation has been and things being so expensive for sure, and the way that technology has been an influence on everybody. Back in, you know, I'm 34 years old, so back in the day, you didn't know what was going on in Detroit unless you read the newspaper, and vice versa. I'm from LA, so people in Detroit didn't know what was going on in LA unless they read the paper. But now, with everybody having access to the entire world right here, is I think it's just a lot of chaos. So just a lot of miscommunication, chaos, and a lot of families, not people, but a lot of families just being single for sure. is a big
Mhm.
start.
I think that's very powerful. And I'll tell you why. Because I remember growing up and we did have a village. You know, every Sunday we was at my great grandma's house. We all went to church together. They made food, so all the cousins was together. We played outside. When it was fall, we had to rake up the leaves. If you
Yep.
got in trouble, you went to go pick up a switch. But we were all together, and no matter what was happening in people's life, that Sunday was our sacred space. We had that village to come to. You know, you had the grandparents to say, hey, I need somebody to watch my kids during the summertime. Or if school was out, you had those different pieces. So the thing that I've noticed that's a little different is the availability of family for multiple reasons. One, people stopped dealing with the what happens in this house stays in this house. People was tired of trauma.
Mm,
So it was kind of like, hey, you know, I don't want my kids dealing with this. So there was this generation before the millennials came of parents that was like, my child is not going to experience the same thing that I experienced. So no matter as much as I love the cookouts and the Sunday dinners, it wasn't worth bringing my children around what caused me pain and harm. So they pulled their kids away. So that's one thing I realized.
hmm.
Secondly, it's a space of back in the day, my grandma didn't work. You know, she was
Boom.
one
Yeah.
of
Yep.
the first people that was a cafeteria worker. And she used to work in the fields when being a cotton picker was actually a career and not just because of slavery right here in Suffolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's crazy.
when I was growing up, she could stay home with the grandchildren during the summertime. We didn't have to go to summer camp and things like that.
Hmm.
Now, both of my parents at least have 2 to 3 jobs at a time. You know, so them staying home with kids, what you mean? I love my grandchildren, but I got stuff to do.
That's crazy.
And then thirdly, it's this space of, I think, and there's this divide when it comes to generations. And we do more judging each other based off of the generation instead of just supporting each other. So there's these divides of, well, millennials do it this way, well, this generation do it this way, and this generation do it that way. So then now we don't have this concrete village, and villages are becoming more of people who aren't blood anymore, right?
Right. And then we also have wherein people are afraid to be a
Mm-hmm.
village. They're really afraid to be a village. Like if by chance someone tells like this person right here, like you go down the street and say talk to your mom about this. Sometimes a mother is a really young mother or a mother that doesn't welcome any helpful criticism or feedback or someone to share with them,
Ooh.
like, this is what happened today with your child, or can we talk about the situation that's going on with the girls? And then we have shows such as like Baddies, who they promote fighting amongst the African American community. And it's just like disheartening when you have something of that nature. So the village, like you said, Malara, has definitely changed since yesteryears.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow. And
So what
so
are some things that we could do to facilitate bringing the village back?
I think um, one that was very unique. I don't want to skip what Malara said about playing outside. With me being 34 and us kind of being similar in age, we are literally the last generation and really the only generation of people. We got the best of both worlds, right? So we got the pulling up to the porch with our bikes. I'm from LA. That's how it was out there. So we got the pulling up to the porch with our bikes, and then a few rich people with Nokia phones. So we kind of grew up with. By the time social media hit, with Soldier Boy coming out and stuff like that, we were already seniors in high school. So we really didn't grow up with phones. And then 5 years after that,
Yeah.
that group of people they grew up with the technology, so they're not used to the interaction with talking to people. Hey, good morning. Hey, can Michael come outside today? Oh no, okay. And that's a big deal. It doesn't seem like it, but what that does is that teaches you a lot of social skills, and that's what a lot of these people, millennials and all this stuff, they lack that because they don't have no social human interaction, right? But again, we could talk about this all day. we have to work the solution and not the
Yeah.
problem, right? So one way that I believe that we could start is man, it's trying to for me to tell people life social media life. You have to be a parent, you have to teach your kids that they're two different entities. They're not the same. Social media is over here and this is real life. And the problem is that when you don't have parents that are in the home saying this stuff, they're mixing these things together and it's just not real. It's not real. So if you're not in the home as a parent, I blame the parents. If you're not a parent and you're not on your child saying them like, hey, like, no, we don't do that in this house. I drop my kid off at the Y every day, and I've seen people drop their kids off. They drinking soda at seven. It ain't even seven. It's 6:50 in the morning. Like, really, you drinking soda at 6:50 in the morning? I've seen girls getting dropped off at the Y with full bonnets on, and I'm like, yo, like, I got a 10-year-old son. Like, these are his options, and it's just like, it's the parents. You these
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I am, and here's the reason why. Here's the reason why. Because yes, there is a lot of responsibility that falls on the parent's shoulder, right? There is a whole lot of responsibility that falls on the parent's shoulder. However, as a parent of a 30-year-old, a 23-year-old, a 17-year-old, and sometimes I will ask my children and ask myself, like, I know I don't wear a bonnet out in public. I know that I don't wear my night clothes out in public. I don't wear bedroom shoes out in public. However, oftentimes when we leave the house to go to work, um, and when our children leave the home to go to school, how we ask them to dress is not how they're leaving out the door. And I get where you say, well, what kind of control does the parent have? And what I can say as it relates to that, wait until you have a teenager.
but that's
Wait until you have a teenager, because even though um, we try to share with our children and we say these are the rules, these are the parameters, let's talk about it, like,
right.
why do you feel like wearing a bonnet is okay?
So we're going to talk about that right after this break, because
Sounds
this is
good.
a great time for us to sit back, really ponder and think. And when we come back, we'll have a conversation of the role of parents when it comes to building a village.
Absolutely. See you in a moment.
New Wave Capital Suites is a premium styling lounge now conveniently located in Boxyard RTP. Whether you're stopping in for a fresh fade or a shampoo or a facial, our goal is to provide RTP with a space to relax, refresh, and redefine yourself. Welcome to the Capital.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So right before we had that short commercial break, we were having a really dope conversation that, to me, I think is why we created Mental Moments, having that generation gap closed, where we were discussing the role of parents when it comes to building a village. So we had Tasha that was explaining, in her shoes, she does have teenagers and young adults where she has communicated certain things, but that doesn't mean that that's how they're going to show up in this world. And then we had Harrison, which is our amazing guest, that is also kind of discussing what he believes that role is going to be, what the parent role should be. So I think there's going to be an interesting combo. We want to welcome Harrison back to the screen. And I'm going to sit here and I want to put it out like this, right?
All right.
So whether you have a teenager or whether you have a young adult kid, right? What do you guys believe is the role of the parent when it relates to creating this new version of a village? Because what we all agree on is the village is not the same. And we have different divides right now between social media, between one thing that Harrison was talking about. Parents sometimes aren't in the home. And what I've realized is it's not because they don't want to be. Sometimes they have to do it to kind of provide. So then who's kind of raising that kiddo in a sense? So it's like, what can we do across the board as parents to show up for our children to create that village?
Man, it's to me the answer is in what you're saying, parent. Like people these days are trying. You cannot be both. They're trying to be friends and be a mother or a father. Like it doesn't work like that. Like I'm not your friend. I'm your parent. My job is to show you the best way possible so you don't make the mistakes that I made and to try to teach you how to have a successful life the best way that I know how. But if you're not parenting, then the child is being raised and influenced by social media, by people in the public, TV, billboards, all this stuff. You cannot blame these teenagers who are out here robbing and doing all this stuff. That's not it's a little bit of them, but where did the apple does not fall far from the tree? Where are
It
the
does.
parents?
It does.
No, it doesn't.
I
How? It
hate, I hate
doesn't.
to say the
Let me
only
finish
reason
though. Let me
why.
finish though. Let me finish though. Hold on.
Okay.
So the first of all, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and then for you to say like, okay, I do agree that teenagers are gonna do what they do because I was like that. You know what I mean? But I'm talking you these kids are 9 years old and they're 10 years old drinking soda and wearing the parents are dropping I literally watched a girl walk out of her parents' car with a bonnet on at 6:50 in the morning. Like that's a learned behavior. Like that's the parents' fault. And then
Absolutely.
go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference between kids and teenagers. So all I'm saying is the parents have to parent. It's solely the parents' fault for sure.
Go ahead,
I can
Tosh.
say I can say that. I mean, and parents, feel free to chime in, but yes, a lot of the responsibility does fall on the parent. All right. When my children and what you will realize, parents that are starting out with toddlers and with elementary school students, you will realize that your child that you had as a toddler it will not be the same child that you have in middle school and high school. Like for a
For
prime
sure.
example, when my son was in like the 11th grade,
Mm-hmm.
one morning he woke up. Now we could never get this boy to wake up on time and get out of the house on time to go to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wakes up one day, he wakes us up like we're asleep. And he's like, I'm going down the street and, I'm going down to Jada's, his little girlfriend house and we're going to, catch the bus, blah, blah, blah. I was like, son, you see what time it is? He's like, yes, but we need to talk. And that I said, okay. As soon as he left the house, I looked over at his father and I said, you need to talk to your son because I think at this point he's having sex or there's something going on
For sure.
that is causing him to wake up so early because this is not something new. I mean, this
Yeah.
is new. And so what I'm saying to everybody is that oftentimes through different experiences that as your child gets older and things that transpire at school, or even though you raise them, you teach them to be a certain way, but they want to explore their individuality. They want to explore, like my ex used to talk about like why my son wore the skinny jeans. And I'm like, well, but why not? Because when you were growing up, you
Yeah.
used to part your hair right here and you had the slope fade and then you had the dye. And at the time, your mother would say, don't come in here with that dye in your hair. So it's just like
Yeah.
when you have different generations, you want to give them an opportunity to explore their individuality, right? You want to
Right.
give them an opportunity, but you also want to say, hey, in order to get a job or in order to interview for this or for that, these are the things that you should do. These are the parameters that we set in this household.
And that's the parenting part. That's the parenting part.
Right. So what you send out, who you send out is not sometimes is not the person that gets on that school bus.
So let's bridge this together, right? So you got two edges of this coin where there are certain years where the parent do parent, and I think this is where I differ, right? Because I've said this before. I believe, again, you can shoot the messenger, that we need to redefine that word friend, because in my mind, a friend is somebody I go to when life is lifing. That's the first person I call when I got a question. That's the person I can have a safe place. As a parent, I want to be that. That don't mean when I say I'm a friend, I'm kicking it with you, I'm watching your movies, you can cuss in front of me. Like, no, that is not my definition of a friend. But what I do want to be is my kid's safe place. So even if I don't use the term friend, I want to use safe place, right? That's just me. But there's a point of time in your kid's life between their young years, like toddler years, and that pre-adolescent, where parenting actually really matters. That's where you teach them don't go out of the house with the bonnet. That's where you teach them that this is how you should show up. You model. The kids learn more not from what we say, but what we do, right? Yep. So that is that time where we begin to model. We begin to set those parameters that Tasha was just talking about. Like in our household, we do it this way. We talk this way. But then at a certain age, going back to what Tasha was saying, that kid may not be the kid that they show up in the house. I remember this like yesterday. I'm going to use a personal example. I was 12, getting on the bus, cussing like a sailor. But I was the girl that was praying at church, at home.
That's how they be.
But when I got on that bus, Girl Shake That Laffy Taffy was the song on my mouth, and I was cussing. They wrote me up, right? So when I got the referral, I'm kind of like going home. You know, I'm a little afraid. I give it to my mom. The first thing my mom says, "That's not you." I was like, "No, Mom, it wasn't me. It was the person behind me. It wasn't me." So the next morning, my mom is like, "I'm going to walk you to the bus then." And I was like, okay, get to the bus. My mom was like, "I know this was not my daughter. It was the other little girl." The bus driver was like, "No, it was your daughter." And she said, blah, 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 blankety, blank, blank, blank. And I was like, "I'm so sorry, Mom. Yes, I did." So why do I share that story? Is because we put so much pressure on parents. And I remember before I even became a parent, I was that person that used to judge the little kid that would throw the temper tantrum in the Walmart. Because then I will say, dang, it must be something wrong with that person's parenting, or they failed. But being a mom of a kid that's ADHD impulsive type, and he would run out of the store, and I'm a whole therapist, a family therapist at that, a child therapist, a trauma therapist that makes sure everything is aligned and my kid still has challenges. I had to learn that there's a level of pressure that we put on parents that's not a bad pressure. It is necessary. We do have a responsibility, but sometimes the kids may not necessarily get what we're trying to do. So it's the space of how do we create this space as a village? So that's another part of what I feel like the village is broken down, because parents are ashamed of the challenges that they have raising their kids. So now I don't want my family to be around me. And see,
this how you create it.
That makes sense, but I know people who got their tail beat that it did the opposite. They're still in jail. They're still that person. So like, it's not just one answer of, well, what they behind. That's cool.
Do you have kids? Does he have kids?
Well,
yeah, he got a son.
Yeah,
how old?
I'm in a little different category though. So I gotta
see, and you say how you say you're in a different category. That's everybody.
But you ain't gonna let me finish though.
You can finish.
What's your category? I'm listening.
So I don't know, Mallory, if you ever seen any of my pictures. So I got a 9-year-old son. All right, he'll be 10 in April. He's special needs, and so he has autism. So he doesn't really understand what's going on. So like, if he was here, I could tell him to go to the bathroom, or I could tell him to turn the light. Like, he's aware. And if I say a sentence, he'll usually say the last thing of that sentence. But as far as like coming on here and having a full blown conversation, like, no, he can't do that. So my parenting is a lot different. You know what I mean? Like, he's not like my son. He's not gonna throw no temper tantrum or nothing. And when you see him, you would look past it. You would look past it every time until maybe you see when it's time to go play. Like with the kids, he might be playing by himself, or you call his name and he ain't even looking at you. So that's why I mean, like, it's a little different with me when it comes to that. But all these other kids that can understand and stuff like that, I don't know, man. I
The
just
belt doesn't work for everybody.
You said what?
The belt does not work for everybody. Just like
I'm
there's so many different types of learning styles. Like there's
I
so many,
agree
like
for
spatial
sure.
learners or interpersonal learners, linguistic learners. There's so many other ways in which, like for a prime example, it was 7 of us growing up.
That's a lot.
And my mom would say it was 4 boys and 3 girls. And my mom would say, every child is different. Like I can't, she would say, if we brought the belt out, I would faint.
Did you
Like
now, did you have both parents in the home?
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Both parents in the home. It was 7 of us. And my mom would say it it took different things for different children.
Uh huh.
That's what it took.
Yeah, I agree. And see, I can't even understand what you're saying. Like, I'm the only child. I could not imagine like having a brother, or that just boggles my mind. So I had it bad. I grew up with, I had a single mother, but I was raised, it was me, her, and my grandfather. And my mom was in shape till I was like in high school. So like she was athletic. Like, I couldn't run away from her, so I got my tail spanked, man. Like, it sucked having an athletic mom, but she was always on me, So I don't know, man.
And I think that's what makes the village so hard, is because everybody has a mindset of my way is the best way. And that's why I always tell people, when I do share like how I may parent or how I may show up, I always tell people this is how I perceive it.
Hmm.
Like, people cringe when I use the friend word. Like, even when I said it at first, I saw Harrison like, oh
Yeah,
my God, right? But again, that is how I have perceived. And I think a big breakdown in the village is we have this is my way or the highway mentality. And that is what breaks down. So people aren't going to come and say, hey, you know what, Harrison, let me ask you this question about how you parent. I know that you have a different situation, but I
hmm,
saw how your son respond to X, Y, and Z. My
yeah,
kid also kind of have some challenges. Let me kind of learn from you what things that you do. And then you say, hey, this is what I've tried. Maybe you can try this. It's a difference between try this and you better do it this way. And then if you don't do
for
it this way,
sure.
I'm gonna cut you off. Like, that's how some people are when it comes to parenting and showing up as a village. Is like, I'm only gonna show up if you do it the way I want you to do it. That
I
is not
think
gonna be helpful.
I think the part that parents, especially older parents, may feel may cringe at, and it's when you say a friend, because oftentimes I know my mom used to say that, like, you can't play with kids
For
because they
sure.
don't know when to cut it off, right?
Yep.
So I think we're saying basically, audience, that show yourself to be friendly, meaning I'm an open book. You can talk to me, because sometimes we don't want to tell our children about the mistakes that we've made. We don't want to tell them about the pregnancies that we may or may not have had. We don't want to tell them about how many people we were with. Sometimes we don't want to be transparent, but I think that's like the best policy is when it's, provide age appropriate information. And also, when we talk
Hmm.
about the village, I think redefining that village and understanding and allowing grace to our sisters and brothers who may have children that are challenging. Like when you say when you have kids that are autistic or things of that nature, it definitely takes a village because it's a lot of work. And oftentimes before, I know Malara's mom may have been home more often, and my parents were home more often than we're home.
Yeah.
because we're always out and we're putting them in activities and we're thinking that all these activities are great for them when it may be overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, we definitely going to continue this amazing conversation right after this momentary break.
New Wave Capital Suites is a premium styling lounge now conveniently located in Boxyard RTP. Whether you're stopping in for a fresh fade or a shampoo or a facial, our goal is to provide RTP with a space to relax, refresh, and redefine yourself. Welcome to the Capital.
Businesses, we are calling you. If you have a business that you would like to air on our show, please email us at mental.moments with 2 S's at gmail.com to advertise your business. During the month of February, this is season 2. We're launching season 2. So for the month of February, we can advertise or place your advertisement on our show for free. Again, mental.moments with 2 S's at gmail.com. Thank you.
Welcome to your metamorphosis experience where you are deciding to become the best version of yourself. Congratulations. This is the first day to the rest of your life. I welcome you in this moment to take some reset breaths. As you listen to my voice, I want you to take a deep breath in to the count of 4.
All right.
Yeah,
We're back.
we are definitely having an amazing conversation tonight as we are talking about our village today. I want to make sure that we welcome you to Mental Moments. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube channel, on Natasha Barnes-Owens YouTube channel. And what we really want to do here is, as we're discussing the village, a big part of that is you.
Mm-hmm.
What are you bringing to the village? What is your expectation of your village? Because a lot of the times it's broken down by the expectations that we may place and have. So as we continue this open discussion, I want us to kind of transition a little bit to the solution.
Yes.
How do we create a village in 2024 with the technology, with the change in people availability and capacity, and more? So I want to welcome Harrison back, and we're going to continue this dope conversation.
Thank you, Milara. I appreciate it. Man, the first thing, obviously, with me, I'm sitting here with the hard hat on. You gotta put money in the family. You gotta put money in their pockets. There's so much stuff on social media like, hey, if you need help, come here. Or one of the examples that I always use, and I'm just gonna tell you like it is, the backpack giveaways in the community and all that stuff, to me, my personal opinion about it damages our community, because you have families where they know like they don't have to work for anything, right? You got turkey giveaways and backpack giveaways and stuff every year. So they'll just sit there and, you know what, I'm gonna be good. They gonna have a giveaway next month, and it doesn't teach them it doesn't show them how to fish. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, one of the things that I believe that how to restore our community is we need to stop giving handouts and teach people how to fish. Because if you keep having these giveaways and free stuff or whatever, they're never gonna learn. They're not gonna learn from it.
How to fish?
This is what my channel is about. I teach people how to fish. So you come to my channel, and I literally, no matter where you live, I will go through your city. So example, if someone lives in the Hampton Roads area, right, and they're looking for a job, I literally start out with them. Okay, what's your experience? You got a GED or a diploma? All right, cool. How much money you need to make? Oh, you ain't got no job? All right, that's cool. We're gonna make you a resume. I'm gonna show you how to finesse these computers and stuff to get your resume read. You blowing? Okay, well, I can't help you because you can't even pass a hair follicle test. You can't pass a drug test. So that's one. They out the window. So then I can't spend all my time on them. So I got to help somebody else.
Why can't you spend time on them?
Because we don't have time. Why would I sit here and waste my time with? I've got one person. I've got 10 people over here who can't pass a drug test, and I got one person over here who can. Like that. no, like time is not waiting. They're sitting over here and they're gonna do the work.
But
And
they're part of the village.
it
So
does
what I'm kind of hearing is your target market are people who are ready, right?
that.
And
Yes, yes,
okay. So that
yeah,
that makes sense. Like, so if someone is coming to you, right,
yeah,
they're gonna come to you when they're ready, where they can, pass a drug screening, where they are ready to take them steps.
for sure.
Now, one thing about this month that I don't want us to get away from, it is Black History Month, and we cannot, and I know people, I don't use this excuse. We actually talked about this last week, where we talked about we want to change the actual narrative when it comes to the Black community, because
Yes.
our narrative is what keeps us sometimes in that depressive, oppressed, discriminated space, because all we do is focus on what we haven't had over the years, or what was taken away from us over the years. But we
Okay.
also can't ignore that there are barriers. And I think when I'm hearing you speak, I definitely hear like, hey, the people of the village who are ready, but there are way more people who are not ready because that education wasn't done in a timely manner. So it's this space of like, well, what happens to those people who may have not known until they met you? Do you have another solution? Maybe a partner, it may not be you, but like, what do you do with those village members that want to do something different, but you're the very first person to teach them how to fish? Do you
Uh-huh.
have a partner that can help them until they're ready to work with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I so a real life example, I gotta know. I gotta know that they're ready. Again, it's in all reality, me or you or any of us, we cannot waste time investing. And we have to know that they're ready. So let's say I've got that one person that comes to me like, man, you know what? I'm gonna put it down, bro. Man, I want to get my life ready. Blah blah blah. Okay, you gonna do that? All right, cool. So you got 30 days, and I need you to every day check in with me, let me know, and that you have to start somewhere. But again, like I said earlier, we can't hold their hands. You just can't do that. There has to be some type of accountability, and that's what I think about this generation, especially these millennials. They don't have no accountability. Like, you go to some of these contests and they've got fifth place and sixth place. They don't feel like they have to work hard because they're gonna get a trophy anyway. You know what I'm saying? When it was just me, it's first, second, and third. Like, ain't no fourth, ain't no fifth. You didn't place. And so when you don't place, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna be accountable. And next year I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna make sure I study, or if it's football, whatever it is, sports or any type of spelling bee, whatever. Next year I'm gonna be prepared for it. But we need to hold people accountable. Like, nobody wants to be accountable for anything, and that's where it starts to me. If this person, and I'm telling them, like, listen, okay, I can get you, like, I posted jobs on my Facebook. All you need is a high school diploma. That's it. You don't need nothing else. If you got a high school diploma, I will help you land this job. And they can't pass it. They can't pass a hair follicle test.
So I think also what I was just looking at us, and I think what we're basically trying to say this evening, that this is the village. Like,
Yeah.
I'm part of the village, Malara's a part of the village, and you're
Hmm.
part of the village.
For sure.
So the people that you're able to aid,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you will provide. And you saying those that can't even pass a follicle test, why waste your time? I beg to differ. I say there is a reason why. And so therefore maybe you could say to them, hey, maybe there's some underlying things that I am not privy to, or that I am not equipped to handle.
Yeah.
My girl Malira, who is a clinical psychologist, or she has her credentials,
That's
let
perfect.
you speak with her. Perhaps she could delve in a little bit deeper
I'm
to
with
see
that.
how she can best assist you. This right here, I think what you're in essence you're saying is, this is what I can do. This is what
Boom.
I can perhaps direct you to someone else who can assist you
Hmm.
in another area, and then bring them over my way. Maybe I can assist them in another way. That right there, people, is your village.
That's
And
perfect.
so what we're
That's
saying
perfect.
is,
That's perfect.
we say take time to figure it out. Why did that sound like?
That was a hand clap. He was agreeing.
Yeah, come on, man. Really?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
thought
want to
that
know
was,
what? Yeah.
I thought that was like when you're getting an award and then they be like, come on. I was like, oh, is that commercial time?
Yeah, no, you
So
doing
this is the
good.
crazy part. Like, these are those conversations, and I'm not even gonna lie, it makes you uncomfortable, right? Because every person has a different personality. Like, the social worker in me is cringing as I'm hearing you speak, not because what you're saying is wrong, but it's like I've known so many people that are very accountable, hence why they're asking for the help, but the hand that they were dealt wasn't the best hand. I am that
Right.
person that gets the backpacks and the school supplies because I sat down with that single mom that talked about how every time she got a job, she had to end up getting off that job because the grandma wasn't available, the baby daddy somewhere else, the car kept breaking down. So it's like, I don't want for us to literally put people, and I'm not saying this is everybody, because yeah, there are some people, there are the welfare
Take
queens.
advantage.
We're going to acknowledge that. That
Yeah.
all the people who are going to abuse things. But what I love to tell people in the Black community is we have to do a better job not coupling people in this one arena. Even when it comes to millennials, I'm a millennial, but I'm bringing in over 100K this year by myself. I'm a millennial, but I have 2 businesses. I'm a millennial, but I'm on TV. So like when we couple people in these cups, it makes us miss those people that actually need our assistance.
Yes.
I'm coupling them. You
Live a
know
little
why?
longer. Live a
You
little bit
know,
longer.
why? Because when I drop my son off at school, I look at these kids. Now, if y'all don't know, I do sneaker restoration. All right. I look at these kids. They got on retros, foam posits. This mall that I live by, Patrick Henry. This is the smallest mall one of the smallest malls that I've ever seen. There is a Finish Line, a Kids Foot Locker, a regular Foot Locker, 2 high-end sneaker stores, and 2 Journeys. How can you tell me that they cannot afford this? I'm not saying, when I say this stuff, I mean the real things that, like, oh, my car, and kind of like what you were talking
Because
about.
where they place their
But that's-
values, that's where
Yeah,
they
it's
place
That's what
their
I'm
values.
saying.
But
That's what
here's
I'm
the thing.
saying.
No. But here's the thing with that. Here is the thing with that. When I was growing up, my father would say, because it was 7 of us now, so that means you just couldn't be in a little teeny, you could be in a 1-bedroom, you could,
Yeah.
but my father main thought was, you have to live in a decent community wherein
For sure.
it wasn't ridden with crime. He had to do his very best
For sure.
to not have us in a crime-ridden area. So
Okay.
that was his contribution, trying to keep, and a dependable car. You know what came secondary? Clothes, shoes. And so, needless to say, when we grew up, if you go to any of my siblings' closets, it's a madhouse. It's clothes from here to glory, shoes from here. And why? Because we grew up without the clothes that we really wanted, things like that. So there are certain reasons why people, when we say people that live in certain, underdeveloped communities, how they place values on sneakers and shoes, because that's how they grew up.
Right, but you don't get to do that. You don't get to you don't get to live in that impoverished environment and then go to school G'd up, and then now you're in a backpack giveaway line. You don't get to do that. Like, your priorities are messed
how
up.
they were
I think it's
taught.
hard, right? I think it's very hard. And the reason why, again, is because, and I definitely hear you, but it's not everybody. Like when
It's not.
And I think that's the hard part. When we talk about the village, it's so easy to focus on the people that will make us not want to be a village, that will make us say, look, I'm not showing up for you because you ain't showing up for yourself. Like, but I want to get away from those people, right? I want to get to the people who, like I said, like myself, I'm middle class. All my kids' shoes come from the secondhand store, but they still look up to par. We're gonna make sure they're good. Right now, I need groceries in my house. Like, so for me, I'm getting sensitive with this topic because I know of some people that is a part of that group that you're talking about that really is doing their best, that is going to see that therapist, that's going to see their case manager, that's going to the job interviews and just different things like that. But people hit certain barriers, right? So as a village, what I would encourage is, before we judge a book by their cover, really sitting down with a person and learning their story. Like that's what I feel like, as a village, before we just count somebody out, really hear their story. And if somebody is really BSing you,
for sure,
that person's giving you fluff, right? So you can then, at that time, I ain't gonna help. But there does come a point where there are some people that might be their escape. Like, let's go back to that person that can't pass their hair follicle test. Listen, there are some people that do that because in every other arena, they don't know where else to go. They're trying to get help from other places. And it may sound like it's an excuse, but for some people, not everybody have the same exact coping strategies. Hell, I'm a whole therapist, but there are some things that I may do in my lifetime that may make somebody be like, oh, let me judge her. But that may be how they cope. So I think we literally need to, instead of having this like judgmental lens on a person, get to know their story and then see where in the village can I place them. They may not be your person. And like Tasha said, you can say, hey, you know what? I can't help you because I'm a little harsh. Like, I know for me, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm right in your face. I'm loud. I'm bold. Everybody can't do that. But I got people in my village that I can say, hey, I might not be the perfect therapist or coach for you, but you can go to her because she's a little bit more your style. But I can't say that if I don't even give them the opportunity to tell me their story, because I just saw them in Patrick Henry Mall buying them shoes. But who to say you don't know that was the 2 years that they took to save to get that baby, shoes. So I'm not saying that's everybody. There are some people out here that's milking the system. Yeah. But there are some people out here that's not. And I don't want to miss those people because of what everybody else is doing.
So can we all three of us give one word or one sentence of what we can do? I'll start. In order to refacilitate or to reorganize the village, I would say allow grace. Okay. Allow grace. Like give a little grace. Like Marlara said, listen to the story. Before you judge the book by its cover, listen to the story. Marlara?
I would say, after you hear the story, so picking back on you,
I like not that.
Being afraid to push that person, because I am a pusher. This one thing about it, if you come in my space, I know an excuse when I hear one. So I'm gonna let you tell me your story, but then if you tell me kind of like where you're trying to go, I'm gonna push you to be where you're trying to go. I'm gonna give you that resource, whether that is that job, whether that is that program, whether it is that coach or that therapist. I meet you where you are, because some people aren't ready to take that next step. For them, that acknowledgement was the first step to say, hey, I know something's going on in my life and I don't like it, so I'm coming to my village for help. So I think piggybacking off of the story, once I hear your story, I'm going to ask you, well, what do you want to do now? And as your village, I'm going to show up there, but I'm also going to let you know, like, I am going to be your accountability. You told me you want to do X, Y, and Z, but you're still doing this. How are you going to get to X, Y, and Z if we're still doing that? But then that takes me as the village to make sure I'm on my stuff. I can't tell you how to shift and move if I'm not shifting and moving. For sure. So I got to make sure that I'm good, that I'm competent, that I'm making sure that I'm taking care of my family, my own. So then when I am with you, I can really support you. And what about you, Harrison?
What was the question?
Because she did 4 sentences.
No, it's not that. Trust me, I got a fish brain.
I'm playing with Malira.
I got a fish brain now. I was listening. So that made me forget your question. I was in it, my fault.
So one word or one sentence or 5 paragraphs saying what you can do. How can you help redefine the village?
How can I read? This was the problem. This was the problem with the Facebook post. No, that's not answering the question, because I was going to say I can't do it. I need some of the village to help me help the village.
So what is your part?
what is my part? What is
Or
my
how
part?
can you help facilitate? So you had started on it a little bit earlier. You were saying how you help in the instance of reviewing the resumes.
Okay, thank you. So I don't have a sentence or how to answer that. What I can say is I agree with what Malira said. I think it was either you or what Malira said earlier. Don't come with me your problems, and I'm saying that because I don't know how to handle. That's not my field. I don't do that. If
Okay.
you I literally don't do that. I don't have to be good at everything, but I do know somebody that's cold with it. I know someone who can help you with that. Like, don't come to me trying to get your hair cut. I'm not a barber. I don't know how to cut hair, but what I can do is I can help you get in the field, and I can put some money in your pocket. That's my specialty. So that's my niche. That's what I'm good at, and that's how I can help the community. So they come with me to these problems, like, all right, have you eaten today? All right, I can feed you. That's about it. I can't. I don't, because I don't want to hurt you any more than you're already hurt.
Right.
Like, you can talk to me, open up to me. I've had problems too that I can help you with, but that's not my specialty.
Got it.
So that is part of what makes the engine run. The steering wheel, the tires, the pistons, the spark plugs, all this stuff. They all need each other to run. If you've got a V8, your car not gonna run right with only 7 cylinders. It needs all 8 to run the way it's designed. So with us three together, you have a specific job, you have a specific job, and I have a specific job. If we all stay on task, now we got the village cracking. Because with me, my problem is that I look at myself and I'm like, yo, I've been home, I've been kicked, I've been homeless, I got a special needs kid, and I'm a man. Ain't nobody here for me, so I gotta figure out whatever it is I need to do. This last year I was sleeping in my car, and now my son's shower is made out of stone. So I don't have a lot of tolerance for people. So that's my problem. Again, I see you with these. I judge too fast, and that's my problem. I'm like, yo, I see you with these shoes, but you won't even come to the parent teacher meeting. So I don't got no sympathy for you. I don't even care about what you're doing. You're not even at the meeting. So I just
But I
we
think
all
that's
need
what
each
makes
other.
it colorful. Exactly. We definitely, because sometimes when we are faced with opposition and challenges, and we do have the mindset that I don't need nobody. I'm gonna do this myself. And we sometimes we fall prey to that because it's conflict when we may introduce other people into our world. But it does take, everybody needs somebody.
For
And
sure.
like he said, if by chance he can't help you, he's the drill sergeant, okay? But Malar may be the one to be like, I may be the one to mother love. Malar may be, I'm in your face, we're gonna party, we're gonna have a good time, but we also gonna get this done. Like, okay, we're gonna do this dance, but okay. But in the process, we're talking about how are you really doing? How are you really feeling? How are you
Yeah.
coping with things? Because oftentimes our kids, because they were raised with the internet and all that, they may not have the necessary tools on how to deal with conflict, how to resolve their conflict. But yes, it does take a village. And Malara, is it time for commercial break or
It
anything?
is
This is
time
a
for a
meaty
commercial.
conversation.
I know,
All
we
right.
are going to come back and close this out momentarily, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Thank you.
Malik is in the hospital. He got admitted last night.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm Dr. Naomi Samuels. I'm Malik's sister. Why is he here?
Malik is getting the best care possible.
Naomi, you really got to get a handle on your anger issues.
Something is not in my life, Trey.
But I'm about to figure it out.
Maybe you need to check yourself.
The four of you have always been there for each other, even when you had your differences.
Sometimes God allows minor setbacks for major comebacks. Trust me, it's all gonna work out.
Everyone expects me to show up for them. But who the hell is gonna show up for me?
We are family, and family sticks together.
Awesome.
So for what it's worth, that's my big sister, y'all. I just got super excited. I was like, who is in this show? And then I see your face and I'm excited. But no, for real, congratulations, sis.
Thank
Congratulations.
you so much. Let me tell y'all, yesterday when I was, I guess whatever day, Tuesday, when I was flying to New York, and I was having a little bit of I had gotten some bad news. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so I just so happened to open up my Facebook, and someone was like, yo, Tosh, I see you, girl. And I was just like, what? And when I looked at it, it was the movie. And so God always knows when you need just that little bit of push to say, baby, I have not forgotten about you. And so what we're going to say to this community that we have right here is that you got a village. Like, it may not seem like you have a village, but if you take a little moment to reach out, to do a little bit of research, to find a perfect person, that a perfect therapist, a person in the school system that you can communicate with, that can help you with your child. Even as parents, we need our village as well, because we cannot do this by ourselves. So what I'm saying to you, my village is out there, our audience that's been tuning in every single week, what are some things that you think that we could do as a community, a African American community within our community? What are some things that we can do to restructure our community? Because we got to be stronger. We're stronger together. We're definitely stronger together. Malira?
So I tell people this all the time. You know, we're like cell phones. We can only do 80% of this life by ourselves. When you get that 20%, you get that wonky message that says energy save mode or cancel. By the time you push cancel, you might as well have plugged it in the first place. And you all need charger cords. And sometimes you upgrade your phone, which means you can't keep using that old Nokia charger cord because it ain't going to charge your iPhone, right?
Ouch.
But you have to understand that it is okay to have this me, myself, and I mentality, but you are going to burn out, man. You really are.
Mhm.
And that's why we're talking about that village, because you don't want to do this thing by yourself. And it's great to acknowledge what your strengths are. I know for me, my strength is I am that cheerleader, but one of my weaknesses is I might not be hard enough for some people, right? But now I know I got Harrison is gonna be like, look, homie, I need you to show up like this. But that's what you need in a village. You need somebody who's going to acknowledge what they bring to the table so that the village can flow together. So that's what I'll tell you. We can only do 80% of this joint by ourselves. We're not always right. So in
For
every
sure.
conversation, walk away with my ex used to say, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Walk away with the meat, walk away with what you can actually take from that, the nutrients from it. And that's how we can rebuild the actual village. Last words, Harrison.
Yeah, so man, I don't know how I'm coming off, but with me, I'm all about results, man, and I don't want anybody to get discouraged with me, but man, I get frustrated because when I go to these jobs and it is what it is, I'm always the only black. You know, I've been in this industry since I was 18 years old, and everywhere I would go, they would say, "Oh, are you the helper?" And I'm like, "No, like I'm the welder." And sometimes they wouldn't even talk to me. They wouldn't believe me, and I'd be the only black. I'm always the only black guy in the room, and I'm like, "Yo, like I could have so many of my home. I could have y'all could be here."
So is that something that you
And
could do in the school system?
so that's two questions. So on the 26th, I got invited to a career day at the elementary school. So yes, I can do that, but I man, when I was on these jobs, I would tell my people about it, and they just man, they don't be wanting it. I'm like, yo, you complaining to me about you making $30,000 a year, you 25 years old. Like you could get 75 right now, but they don't want to do it. So again, do I sit here and waste my time with this, or I gotta get to the hungry, because it's sink or swim. And that's why I move the way I do, is because when I got this person starving right here and I'm gonna be on them, best believe when they come to me, that I'm gonna produce. They can hit me up, and just like how I do now, when I be on these people and they hit me up, like, hey, Dave, I need this, I need that. All right, you got it. Like I produce, like I'm gonna get to you, but they don't ever challenge me because they don't ever follow through. So again, I want to end with saying, like, yeah, I'm stern and I get to it, but best believe, like, I'm not. It's 12 a.m. Whatever the case is, I'm gonna hit you back. Like, I'm not one of these. I'm not one of these dudes that's like, yeah, man, like I got it. Oh, how do I get it? Man, you gotta work hard. Like, what that mean? What work hard means? Like, you're not gonna tell me how to get it? No, I'm gonna tell you exactly. I'm gonna tell you how to get it, and I'm gonna show you how to get it because it's enough money out here for all of
Yeah,
us to have.
you're absolutely right. And as you were talking, I thought about that as well. How in our village, and we're gonna go, but this is such a great conversation because we love our village.
For sure.
And we definitely, and do we get frustrated with our village? We do.
Dude.
Like, just like your brothers and sisters or your family. Do we get frustrated with our mom and dad, with our siblings, with our cousins? We do. But guess what? We always come back for Thanksgiving. And we always come back for second helpings, okay? So what we're saying, everyone, is that everybody may not be your cup of tea. And just like when I used to teach high school English, many years later, I could be in a grocery store or be somewhere, and it'd be one child that would say, Miss oh my God, I so remember when you said this, and remember when you told me this. I just really want to say thank you.
That's
But
beautiful.
sometimes you feel like, and even with our children, like let's say out of the 7 children that my parents had, and of course they're not gonna say this, but sometimes you be like, dang, like this one kind of like disappointed me a little bit. I thought they was
Oh,
gonna do this, I mean, because
dang.
that's the human side of people. Just like you say, well, I'm not gonna help that. But if by chance you continue to spread the news, the good news of what it is that you have to share, and if you touch one life, your life, like you
For
did
sure.
your part, you
Yep.
did your part. So my audience, our audience, what we want you to do is in the comment field or just put on our page some of the things that you do within your village to make it stronger, to make it better. And if by chance there's a topic that you want us to discuss on the show, please go to our Instagram page, Mental Moments, or either my YouTube page, Natasha Barnes-Owens, and put your comments there. We will love to hear from you. We will love to hear from you. This has been another episode of Mental Moments. We will love to see you again next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We love you. We'll see you next week.